first to maybe give context to the whole kind of space and the tech and why we're doing it. I don't think people fully appreciate the amount of wealth that's going to be created over the next 10 years. It's truly staggering. I mean, this is the .com and what came out of that, Google, Amazon, all these big tech companies. That was pretty staggering at the time. Dwarfed what happened in the Industrial Revolution. What's now coming to us with this kind of nexus of AI and what AI is going to do, the amount of compute power if you look at Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, $7 trillion is going to need to be spent over the next decade to satisfy the demand for AI compute. You look at this project, was announced with ChatGPT and Sam Altman, Stargate, where SoftBank and ChatGPT spent $500 billion on a data center. Primarily, that data center is not for the purposes of training the models. It's because, how many of you have used ChatGPT that says, hey, you've reached your limit for the day? That demand is only going to just skyrocket. And so there's a tremendous need for AI compute. Blockchain is now here to stay. It's funny, if you'd asked me 2 years ago, I was very anti-crypto. I didn't understand it. I was like, okay, there's these speculative digital coins with no underlying value in them, and the price is only there because people say the price is that, and you saw all kind of the scams. And really, as I saw the big institutional players get involved in it, their perspective on it kind of related to tokenization of assets and what blockchain enables from having third-party trustless transactions, that's when it really clicked. And I think this nexus of AI, blockchain, Web3, which we'll talk about what Web3 is, the amount of wealth that it's going to be staggering. And we as people have to decide, do we want that to be an extension of what Web2 was? You look at the early days of the internet, and no one owned the internet. It was mostly peer-to-peer traffic. It was people on their individual computers. And it wasn't until the rise of companies like Google, Facebook, now Meta, where essentially the internet got purchased and put into data centers. And there's this big move now back towards what's being called Web3, which is let's move back towards kind of a more Web 1.0 centric architecture where things are decentralized and where it's not big corporate behemoths that kind of act as gatekeepers. And so, with that context, the problems we're trying to solve are what has largely been created because of the Web 2 ecosystems, where one, people don't fully understand how they're being exploited with their data. There was a meeting I'll never forget. At the time, I was a C-level at Vivint, and we were working with Facebook, and we were talking about doing a deal with them. So I was in Menlo Park, a dozen or so times, meeting with the senior executives there. And up until that point, I'd used social media. I remember having a conversation with one of the senior executives where he was glowingly talking about how they have 20-something thousand odd data points on the average person, and they know more about you than you know about yourself. And I was so horrified. Even me as a tech person, I consider myself relatively tech savvy, didn't understand all the data that was being collected on my phone. Everywhere I went, everything I bought, everything I searched for, everything. And essentially all these free services.
That's scary for some people.
That's really scary. All these free services we're using, they're taking your data, they're doing it in a way that isn't fully transparent, and then they're monetizing it. And now worse, that's one thing when AI isn't involved, but now, because it's just so much data that's created, it's very hard for them to kind of use that. Now with AI, they're essentially using this data to train folks, train these AI models. And so there really aren't systems out there that give people control of their data, and they're all kind of centralized, designed to kind of exploit the personal data and monetize it. And then you look at kind of the way networks are built. So that's on the kind of